So guys, there are some major changes going around with the DC universe, with James Gunn now hinting to a new merger within the DC universe, connecting all film, TV, animation, and games. So if that sounds interesting, let's talk about it. Yo, what is going on guys, Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on, I guess, the DC universe as a whole. This includes TV shows, so you could say Superman and Lois, and then also it includes films, video games, and many more as well. Now, obviously this year, DC has been going through some multiple changes, and we have now found our Kevin Feige for the DC universe, and there's obviously James Gunn and Peter Safran, both of which are working together to create this new DC universe that they're working on, and essentially just expand on it and just continue the DCEU and pretty much all things DC. And James Gunn has been hinting to a couple of changes taking place. He's obviously been responding to fans on Twitter and various other stuff like that. We obviously got the news that Henry Cavill's returning as Superman, but things were left on a question mark for quite a lot of stuff, especially with shows like Superman and Lois, which you would consider outside the DCEU, and just other animated shows in general. And it put a question mark because obviously in terms of like the CW shows, for example, a lot of them are either ending, which in terms of The Flash is obviously ending, whereas the other shows have been cancelled. And this obviously put a big question mark on Superman and Lois because fans have been wondering if that show was going to get cancelled, and it looks very, very likely that it will. However, with whatever's going on right now, and it's the main topic of this video, it does seem like Superman and Lois is safe. So we'll be talking about multiple different stuff in this video, all of which is some very, very interesting stuff. So I would highly recommend sticking to the very end of this video. But yeah, essentially I'm going over this Variety article over here, which is essentially just breaking everything down. Pretty much over here, James Gunn, he's responded to like a Twitter Q&A with fans, and he's revealed some pretty interesting stuff. So kicking off this article, James Gunn, some standalone DC projects will still exist outside of a DC universe that connects film, TV, animations, and games. So this is very, very interesting, and yeah, let's just get into it. James Gunn is the new co-chairman and CEO of DC Studios alongside with Peter Safran, and he confirmed during a Twitter Q&A with fans that the DC universe under his watch will be connected across film, television, animation, and video games. But that doesn't mean Gunn and Saffron are putting a ban on standalone projects that exist outside the larger interconnected DCU. In the recent years, the animated series Harley Quinn and films such as Joaquin Phoenix starring the Joker and Robert Pattinson starring the Batman have told DC stories separate from that of the main DC universe. And this is a quote from James Gunn. "Yes, some." Gunn answered when a fan asked, "Will there be some standalone animation or live action shows that take place in separate worlds, like Harley Quinn?" Gunn also confirmed that he is planning to give more DC characters their own television series in order to build out the DC universe, adding, "Yes, most definitely, the DCU will be connected across film and TV and animation." When one fan asked, "Are there plans for games to be connected to the DCU as well?" Gunn answered, "Yes." The one area Gunn will not be focusing on is DC Comics. Although he told one fan there will be very open communication between his DC Studios and DC Comics, Gunn added, "As everyone knows, I'm a huge comic book fan, and I hope everything we do will lead to more people reading DC Comics and vice versa. But Peter and I are not in charge of comics, just all filmed DC entertainment." Gunn and Saffron assumed their new roles at DC Studios on November 1st. In their new positions, the duo oversee film, TV, and animation at DC Studios and report to Warner Bros. Discovery President and CEO David Zaslav. Gunn stressed again during his Twitter Q&A with fans that he will continue to personally direct select DC film and TV projects. So this is all very, very interesting stuff. Now, in terms of my overall thoughts in regards to James Gunn merging all of the universes, I think it's a pretty cool idea to have everything connected with one another. But the issue with continuity, I would say, would arise with this. What I mean by that is that, for example, if we have a look at Marvel's What If, for example, or just Marvel in general, like they have now connected the cinematic stuff with a lot of the TV shows. They're doing TV shows within the MCU, and then also we will be having animated shows as well. Like, for example, What If. Now, the issue with this is a lot of people do find animation very, very hard to watch and just hard to follow in general. So the issue with that would arise where, let's say, you have to watch this certain show to understand a future project. That's where the issue would come. Like a live action TV show for a lot of the majority would be no problem. That would be very, very cool. But it's just some of the minority, or you could still say majority, they don't like animation stuff, and that is evident with Marvel. For example, I know a lot of people who have skipped What If, for example, because they're just not into that animated stuff. And then also with the video games, it will also be quite tricky then as well. So it will be interesting to see how they will be able to tackle all of it. I think the whole premise of like the merger and everything, I think it's a cool idea, but it's whether or not it will be like hard to follow or not. That's where the trouble might be, and that's when, you know, it could get a lot of backlash, in my opinion. And also the whole idea of spoilers could come into it as well. For example, if you're to play a specific game, but you haven't watched like a certain show that you're supposed to watch to understand that game, or that you're supposed to watch a certain movie to understand that game, that's where it will also be troubling as well for a lot of people, because a lot of people just want to game. They just want to like enjoy the video game. They wouldn't want to get like, you know, extra context elsewhere. Like, for example, the best way to describe it is with what's going on with the Arrowverse. For example, we had the Earth Prime comic as like side quests to whatever's going on with like the live action stuff. So obviously it takes place before the events of a specific season. So for instance, if we take into account the Flash season 9, we know that the comic book has done stuff which will lead into the Flash season 9, and not many people has read that comic. So it will be, you know, troubling to like, you know, for the people who just watch the shows in general. That's where the issue could arise. Like, they'd be forced to pretty much see everything to fully understand it, and that would be something that could disconnect fans, in my opinion, and it would be quite troubling. So it depends on like what they will do with like the games and like the animated shows. Maybe don't make it way too connected to like the other stuff, but I don't know, it's too early to speak, so I guess we will just have to wait and see. But the whole like connected idea, I think it is really, really cool, and I do like the idea of like the DC universes merging. Now, he did also say that these DC projects, such as like the Batman, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, all of that stuff, they will still remain outside. So what I'm getting over here is that James Gunn is still open for standalone projects. So for example, he wouldn't get bothered with like having, for example, Ben Affleck's Batman and the Robert Pattinson's Batman. He wouldn't be opposed to having more than one of the same character, but like a different version. For example, we know Henry Cavill is back as Superman, and that is for the DCEU, but it seems like from over here, Superman and Lois could still be saved. This seems pretty hopeful for Superman and Lois, and this could mean that James Gunn is open to having like that standalone DC project. That he would still be open to have Superman and Lois. He'd be open to have Tyler Hoechlin's Superman as its own thing, and then we'd have Henry Cavill's Superman in the DCEU. It seems like James Gunn is open to something like that, where obviously David Zaslav, he wasn't too open with the idea of having like the multiverse and all those sorts of stuff, where it seems like the total opposite. So this could potentially actually give good hopes for a show like Superman and Lois, which does make me very, very happy, because with what's going on in the CW right now, it seemed very, very likely that they were going to cancel Superman and Lois, and this does make it more hopeful that it won't. Maybe they'd take the show and just put it elsewhere, whether it be HBO Max or whatever they're going to do going forward. So that seems very, very cool. But as I said, the whole like continuity idea with like us having to like see everything to like fully understand like a different story, that's where the issue could arise, in my opinion. Now, it would be cool if we have this like whole idea of the multiverse and it also connects to the DCEU, I would really like that idea. And this could potentially be how we could get like a reboot with characters like the Flash, for example, where we could actually get Grant Gustin stepping in as the main Flash of the DCEU, because they're clearly not going to go forward with Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller is definitely going to be found guilty because there's actually evidence of their crimes, so I don't see how they will be able to get away from the situation they're in. So by the looks of it, it will seem like Ezra Miller will be found guilty, and then obviously he will no longer be able to be the Flash. He will have to be recast or just replaced. So this could obviously bring in the idea, if they wanted to bring in Grant Gustin's version into the DCEU. James Gunn has somewhat acknowledged other DC TV shows, for example, Legends of Tomorrow, where he did pretty much say that he is not going to bring that show back. But it's clear that he is aware of the Arrowverse, and maybe if a lot of fans would want to see like someone like Grant Gustin's Flash become the main Flash of the DCEU, he did say that he is open to a lot of fan suggestions, so maybe that could be one fan suggestion that we could actually see come into fruition. That would be something I would really, really love to see, for example. But however they do it, it's going to be interesting to see how it all works. But yeah, James Gunn has been working very, very hard with DC Studios so far, so it will be interesting to see what he will reveal in the upcoming months, or maybe like next year if he reveals stuff in like Comic-Con or something like that. It would be very, very cool to see what he has in plans. We know he's been teasing multiple different stuff on Twitter, so keep your eyes out on James Gunn's page because he does post some very, very interesting teases, and I will talk about it in like next upcoming videos when I have time to do them. But for now, this is pretty much it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below what you guys think about all of this. I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of this as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.